Adam and Whack 100 had a discussion today about 4Extra's future in media or the future of his channel. And let's just say if 4Extra hears this conversation, he's going to be really pissed. So the conversation started with Adam like telling Whack, yo, we did a review and I went back and watched, the episodes that 4Extra is mad at us about because 4Extra hasn't been back at No Jumper since he got out the hospital for blowing his hands off. And the reason that was gave was 4Extra is mad at No Jumper for platforming people that was dissing him while he was in the hospital. Adam then tells Whack, yo, I went through all the episodes we did and nobody really dissed 4Extra. And Adam feels like he did nothing wrong and he don't see why 4Extra no longer wants to work for No Jumper.
I hear that
You're Crip Mac, I'm pulling you over.
I hear that somewhere in along the lines 4Extra said he wasn't coming back. I don't know where I'm hearing it from.
I think it was a Baby Runner interview where Baby Runner said that.
You were insensitive.
Yeah, he basically said that for him, and everybody kind of ran with it, yeah.
Because you let the people come up here and say things.
I guess like he was upset about the fact that on the Tuesday show after he blew his hand off that King Pill was on there, which he was not normally on there. I'm sure he could have probably lived with the fact that Munchie was on there because I had been doing the pod with Munchie for many months at that point. But we went back and we actually checked the tapes. We checked that episode. Trap Lord Ross did a full review. I did a review. There's really almost nothing that you could point at and say like, oh, that's offensive. That's Adam saying something fucked up. There's really, and even King Pill, the only thing he said was, hey man, this is what happens when you piss off the fade god. You piss off the fade god, they take your hand. And even Munchie didn't really say anything offensive on the pod.
You gotta own your
No, I am. But there's just nothing.
Why you gotta own your bullshit right now?
No, I'm not.
Because
find the clip. We're issuing a challenge.
In
find
defense
the clip
of King Pill.
Sure.
Right? You lined him up with Aunt Hefe because King Pill didn't want to talk about 4Extras.
No, King Pill was about how all the topics sucked in general.
No, he didn't want to talk about 4Extras. He was like, okay, well, since you don't want to talk about that, let's talk about this song.
That's not literally what happened.
It went like that. So
in
if
a
you
much
had
more
your
general
way,
sense,
if you would have had it your way, it would have been more 4Extra.
No. This is my thing. If we do a podcast and there's a topic to talk about, you should probably be able to talk about it, especially if it's something explosive, no pun intended. If it's something that's like a big story, you should be able to talk about it, have something to say. So when King Pill basically like gave like a crappy 10-second thought about it, and then said that all the topics in general sucked, which keep in mind, that was the same week that Mellow Bucks' party got shot up and all these people died. There was like a ton of viral that weekend.
I'm not going to bore y'all by giving y'all the same opinion that I've given y'all like 1,000 different times. I just feel like, man, there's different expectations here, bruh. 4Extra felt like, man, you shouldn't be messing with none of my ops, right? Like at all. I don't care if you had them scheduled before, like my incident. Once my incident do happen, cancel all appearances. Now, this is the risk that you do take when you do business with multiple people who don't like each other. In the case of 4Extra and King Pill, I do feel like the King Pill gravy train should have been stopped. It should have been cut off immediately when he went to 4Extra's hood with a gun. Because once you cross that line, you now cross the line from this is content, they don't like each other because of internet beef, so now this is like a really serious issue. 4Extra went from thinking this dude is just a weird goofy to now he's looking at him as, yo, when I see you, it's life or death. Once it took that route, I do believe it should have, like kind of choose between Tylenol or 4Extra. And I feel like that decision is pretty easy. Now, Adam and Whack began to discuss 4Extra's future in media. And let's just say they believe that 4Extra has no future in media with whatever endeavor that 4Extra takes on in the future.
Do not come up in here with no sentimental thugs and sentimental gangsters. That's on you for thinking for 1 second Adam wasn't going to choose the content over your feelings.
I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but it is kind of funny being a grown man and hearing people be like, damn, I thought we was homies. And it's like, I knew you for 2 months. I knew, it's like, okay, you did? You thought that? Like, I thought you You seem like you take friendship more serious than that.
What did I tell you?
And it's not like I'm setting them up. It's
When
just
I-
like, you know,
Hold
listen,
on.
if you bapping, you might get turned into content.
You don't-
as long
it's
as
a
you're,
fact.
as long as you want to politic 4 extras. Let me tell you something. I think he's going to have a harsh realization that
Yes.
things were better when he was on the no
I'm
double
with you on
payroll.
that.
And I'm going to tell you why. According to Munchie, at one point, he said that he had a friend, ran into 4 extra, was talking to him about what he's planning on doing in terms of entertainment, everything like that. And 4 extra said, I'm working on a cartoon and I'm working on a documentary. Now, one of those things has kind of already happened because Traplo Ross put out a 4 extra documentary.
And it's hard to outdo and outrun a Trap Lord Mark.
That's what I'm saying is it's going to be hard to create a documentary that does better than Traplo Ross is doing with his 1.4 million subscribers. And I had a word with Traplo Ross, and to him, this video not hitting 200,000 views in 6 days, to him, very upsetting.
People's not interested.
It's just, I mean, that to me is damning, because I know that if he dropped this, whatever it was, a month and a
That
half
shit
ago
would have
or
been
whatever,
no.
that shit would have 2 million views if it dropped a week after his hand got
If
blown
he
up.
was still on this platform, it would have as well.
Because he breaks down the bodies that he beat, which is like, how are people not interested in that?
I understand what they're saying, but when it comes to YouTube, it's a little different and it's a little weird, right? For example, Traplo Ross and his audience, I don't really feel like his audience have too much of a demand for 4 extras content. If I would have dropped that same video, it would have probably done 500,000 views. So I wouldn't use like the 4 extra video not performing well on Traplo Ross's channel as really like a barometer for where 4 extras demand is currently. That's not how that works, right? Like how YouTube works is when you drop a video on YouTube, there are 2 things that matter: the click-through rate and the average view duration. The click-through rate is how many of your subscribers or how many of the people that YouTube shows your video to, how many of them click on it. So if Traplo Ross, so let's say your YouTube shows that video to 50,000 of Traplo Ross's audience, and let's say they don't care about it because, it's his audience. They're from the UK, New York, they're from everywhere and not just LA, 10% clicks on it. Well, that tells YouTube, if only 10% of the people that show the video click on it, that tells YouTube it's a bad video and they don't recommend it, right? But if let's say you drop it on a LA-based channel, or let's say a channel that is investing in 4 extra, let's say my channel or other LA channels, or not really LA channels because my channel ain't an LA channel, but other channels that, that have fan bases who know who 4 extra is. If you would have dropped that, let's say on my channel, the click-through rate would have been probably like 20 to 30% because people on my channel care about 4 extra. So the video would have performed a tad bit better, right? Because YouTube will recommend it more if you hit the 20 to 30% click-through rate. So now I do, Adam and Wack knows a lot about YouTube, so I do kind of feel like, this is just the opportunity to kind of, stick it to 4 extra a little bit, but they didn't stop here, right? They continued, and I'll be real, man, 4 extra is going to crash out when he sees the rest of this, man.
That's kind of crazy.
Here's the thing, right? And I don't know who I had this conversation with just the other day. No, Trap.
Mhm.
Or somebody I was having this conversation with. When people are failing to realize, and I know how it goes, they're saying, 4 extras, boy, you don't need that. You could do it on your own. People don't realize that 4 extras was being guided by you.
Yeah.
The questions you were asking was getting the responses that the camera saw. Without you asking these questions, we wouldn't have seen those reactions. It's not that, you know what I'm saying? And I think people see with me and you, I can take the wheel, you can take the wheels, 2 total different things, but we can both do it, right? But in this situation, it was the questions you asked that brought out his reactions.
People don't want to just see the funny, crazy, out of control guy on camera. They want to see him with somebody who, from their perspective, is more normal, straight-laced, ask questions from their perspective.
To get his reaction.
Like, because if 4 extra created his own little podcast or whatever, who's he going to sit down with? He's going to sit down with a bunch of other Rolling 40s members, and they're not going to, like, they could definitely create some interesting conversations, some interesting content, but ultimately the normal person is not going to really like relate to that content as much because they're not a Rolling 40s member. They don't like, these guys are not going to be decoding shit in the way that I would be. And
That's what they're going to be doing.
I don't mean to
they're
say
going to be rolling weed,
yeah.
smoking, everything. It's not going to be
decoding shit, because to them so much shit is obvious because they understand their world and they don't need to explain stuff. With me, like, we tried to give Crip Mac a show that was just him. It was called the Crip Mac Show. You can go check it out on YouTube.
It ain't gonna work.
It was him reacting to different viral videos and memes and stuff like that.
It's not gonna work.
It didn't work because it's just him alone in a room. That's not doing it. But me and Crip Mac, every time, it was a hit.
Yeah, but there's like a drastic difference between Crip Mac and 4Extra. Like, Crip Mac is borderline nonverbal. Like, Crip Mac communicates in grunts. On hood. Like, right, like, yeah, of course a Crip Mac show didn't work, bro. Like, it's Crip Mac. I think 4Extra is somewhat a tad bit better than Crip Mac. But what I would say, though, is Adam is correct in the sense of a 4Extra show with, let's say, people around him who don't know what they're doing is probably not going to perform. He probably needs to get with someone who's able to run a show, who's able to host, who's able to throw him questions and they feed off each other. Now, do I feel like it's incredibly hard to find someone like that? Probably not, right? I'm sure you could find, I don't know, bro, like some type of, like communication student, somebody who wants to do podcasts, somebody who has their own podcast in LA, right? Who already, like wants some clout, they're looking for their big break, and you could kind of just bring them on and have them ask, and like ask you questions, right? But I do feel like the No Jumper platform was a big look for 4Extra, and I think that would be missed, right? Like you don't have that built-in guaranteed couple of viral moments or clips every month that came with No Jumper. You're not going to have to create your own moments, and that's going to be the difficult part. But he could find someone to ask him questions. He could find someone with a podcast. But I feel like the more important question here is, will the momentum and the audience that he had at No Jumper, will that affect his growth moving forward? Losing that, does that affect him?
Shaq is a dominant force.
Right.
Kobe's a dominant force. But Shaq or Kobe has never had the presence on a basketball court without one another.
Right.
The Shaq and Kobe together was some shit that they have never matched without each other, right? And people got to understand, with 4Extras, it took Adam to ask or approach certain things to get the reaction or the response he got. Without you asking, that reaction or that response would have never happened. So now you have no Adam.
Right. He could maybe try to find another one, but he's going to try like Lupe.
That's not.
I don't believe that. But this is the thing. Me and you, if you did a 2-hour live stream by yourself, it's not going to have 200,000 views. If I do a 2-hour live stream by myself, it's not going to have 200,000 views.
Yeah.
We come together, we do a 2-hour
That's
podcast, it gets 200,000 views.
I go by myself, I get, my 30s, 40s, 50s and shit, cool, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, no, that's real. I don't take away from that. I understand that. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like,
they want to see me challenge in some way your gangsterism or your street knowledge, etc., and they want to see you challenge my weird, super logical, quote unquote, whatever the fuck I'm doing over here.
That's just real shit.
Calling myself logical is probably not going to go over so well, but whatever weird shit I'm doing over here.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Y'all let me know, man. What y'all think, man? All right, do y'all feel like it's pretty much cooked for 4Extra? Is it pretty much over? All right, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? I do feel like there is an avenue to where 4Extra could get this together, but I do believe he would need to locate somebody who probably already has their podcast, who probably already do podcasting, and kind of sit down with them on his own channel, right? I do believe he should create his own YouTube channel. I don't know why that hasn't been up yet, but he should create his own YouTube channel, do this weekly podcast. Trust, bro, it's LA, yo. There's mad people with studios. There's mad people with different things who will go out of their way to give you free studio time, free production, because they want to be a part of the 4Extra show. So finding somebody to do production or somebody to ask you questions. That's not really hard. You just got to put it together and be committed to this. All right. What I see from a lot of these dudes is they much rather take the check than take the chance on themselves. They much rather just take the check and show up and have everything done for them than build a legacy on their own. But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, man? Do y'all believe, man, that 4 Extra has a chance? Let me know in the comment section, okay? And if you're still watching, click on this video right here to find out why this lawyer thinks that DJ Academics is in some really big trouble for making this mistake. Click on this video right here to find out what this mistake is. I'm going to see you guys in this video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.